Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John Solis, your host for Introspective Gamer Podcast, and welcome to the episode. I don't know my episodes. Like I do in the titles, but I couldn't tell you what episode we're on. Maybe 8 or 7. Who knows? Don't worry about that. We're still early. Anyway, it is March 9th, Thursday, the last day of recording. And yeah, it's the last day of recording. I have not done any recording Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it's because that Breath of the Wild has just taken up all my time, as well as some other Switch games. The Switch in general has just taken up my time. And instead of trying to record something when I know I'd rather be playing, or in my world, there's really not a lot going on. I think even in the video game world, there's not a lot going on. A lot of people have been taken over by the Switch, whether it's controversy surrounding it, or the greatest game ever, apparently people are rating Zelda. I feel like this is Switch week, even though it announced came out the last Friday. So anyway, whoops, I don't know if y'all can hear the train. I have a train in the back of my house, but it never honks, like ever. And it's because, I'm not going to get into it. Basically, you used to be able to cross the tracks, and so it made sense to honk so nobody got hit. But now, you still can, but there's no actual crosswalk for you to do it. So they don't honk anymore. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you about some damn train tracks. Let's get into the episode. And I wanted to start out, the first topic was basically my Switch pre-order story. Now, I don't know if anybody keeps up on Twitter, but I was tweeting at how, so I ordered from Target, but I didn't order expedited shipping. So it was just going to come whenever it came. And it said that it had an estimate of the 6th through the 9th. So I was like, okay, I couldn't wait until then. It's whatever. But then, of course, on the second or the first, basically the week leading up to the launch of the Switch, I'm on Reddit and NeoGAF and these different websites I visit, and everybody's getting hyped because they're like, oh, when is it coming? They have a lot of pre-order threads and order status threads of when your item's going to ship. And I don't know why I let myself get sucked into this rabbit hole of just constantly refreshing and reading other people's stories. And I basically noticed that people from Amazon and Best Buy were getting their shipments upgraded for free, or just getting them on launch even without having to pay expedited shipping. And the few people who ordered from Target, we weren't getting any updates. I didn't get an update at all. I was getting super worried because I was like, God damn, I know I'm going to get it from the 6th to the 9th, but when the fuck are you going to ship it? And from what I was gathering, they don't ship their systems till launch. And so I was like, oh, hell no, come on, if other people are upgrading for release day shipping, why can't I have that? Or even the day after release day. Just give me a bone here. I was getting really frustrated, really angry. And then basically after having breakfast with my dad, I was talked down from the ledge. It wasn't even a big talk. He was just like, eh. He's like, is it going to sell out? And I was like, yeah, maybe, probably. He's like, and yours is guaranteed? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, then don't worry about it. You already got one. And so that calmed me down. But of course, I get a notice on the 2nd saying that my order is going to ship, and it's shipping in my same state, and so it should get to me the next day. And it did. It came in at 2 in the morning. Since I work overnight, I was keeping up with the tracking information all of my shift, and I saw that it was coming to me at 3 in the morning, and that it was going to get transferred at 5 and be delivered by today. And I was like, oh man, this is exciting. And then when I get home at 6, I get the notice. This is Friday, mind you. This was a Thursday at midnight, Thursday overnight into Friday. I get the notice at 5:40 that it was not delivered because the place it was transferring to was closed. And I don't know where they were transferring to, because it ended up... Let me finish my story. All I know is that I got pissed as hell and was like, oh, fuck this. I'm not putting up with this anymore. Sorry if I'm spiking the mic. And so I got some coffee. I went home, and we usually swap cars, me and my wife. So she takes the car while I get some sleep. But at this point, I said, you know what? I'm going to drop you off at work, and me and my son, Sammy G is what I call him. Me and Sammy G are going to go look for this Switch. And yeah, we did. And I was just driving around, and I happened to pass by a Walmart. And so I go in there, and I see these people getting Switches. And I was like, do y'all have any Switches? And she's like, the only ones we have are for pre-orders. And so I was like, oh, shit. I bet you that's pretty much. This is like at 7:40 at this time. I go, that's pretty much, in my mind, I'm thinking that's the story. Is that at Walmart anyway, it's just going to be pre-orders. And so my dad, I can usually have breakfast with him around 8 o'clock in the morning till like 9 or 8:30 to 9:30. And a lot of stores usually open around 9 or 10. And so I figured I'd just risk my luck at a Target and a Best Buy, one of each, and then head home. And if I didn't get anything, I'd cut my losses and just take my guaranteed Switch on Monday. Because that too, I know UPS delivers on the weekend, but for some reason the way they shipped it, they said it was only going to deliver on a business day. So that's why I got so overreactive pissed, because it wasn't coming in. And so then I decided to wait. And in the course of having breakfast, no, before we went to have breakfast, my dad was saying, why don't you call Target and see if they have any? And I really hate when he says that, because he always wants me to call ahead, and that bothers me because I feel like I'm wasting time calling when I could just drive down there. Because what if I'm 2 seconds late to the line anywhere, whether it's a new game release or a toy or whatever the case, and I wasted 2 seconds calling while somebody pulled in? I know that's a dumb thinking, but anyway, I was like, fine. I go, when does Target open? Apparently Target open at 8. Apparently they do open at 8. That's just when they open, I guess. And so I called, and it was like 8:30 at this point. And I said, do y'all have any extra Switches? And the guy was like, yeah. I mean, there's a line of people right now, but you can come in, and we're not going to sell out to this line of people. And so I was like, Dad, before we have breakfast, we need to haul ass to Target up the street and see if they have any Switches. And mind you, I ordered the black Switch because that's all I could grab at the time. And so we drive on down there, and yeah, I'm seeing people leaving the store with bags, and they have the Nintendo Switch in the bag, obviously. And so I'm kind of getting excited, like, oh shit, like, hopefully they didn't sell out. And I go in, zoom right to the electronics, and there's no line. There's two people. There's like a mom who doesn't know what she's doing, and this guy who's buying 2 Switches. And I was like, holy shit, this guy's rich. And yeah, I go when it's my turn, and I go, do you have any extra Switches? Because I thought those were pre-order pickups maybe. And she's like, yeah, we have a few. And I was like, I saw behind her, and they had them in stacks, and there was like 4 neon Switches, and then there was like 7 black ones. And I go, do you have any neon? And she was like, yeah, they're right here. And she's like, how many do you want? And I was like, what? I mean, I'll take one. Like, I was just excited because I was like, what? The neon? Oh, again, the neon is another thing, which is a side tangent of the same thing. I didn't give a shit about the neon as long as I got one. But as time went on and people kept talking about how vibrant the colors were, I was like, oh man, I really wish I could have got me a neon Switch. But I ended up getting it, and so I picked it up, and then I got it in the morning of launch day. I mean, obviously I went to have breakfast still. And then when I came home, I should have went to sleep. But instead, me and my son put it to charge, set up the system, and me and him played some snipper clips together. It's pretty fun. And kind of, yeah, just to chronicle that real quick up until this point, that's kind of what I've been doing. Me and my son have been playing with the Joy-Cons, co-op and snipper clips and Shovel Knight. Sometimes we'll play Fast Racing RMX, but for the most part, we just play the snipper clips and Shovel Knight. And then me, by myself, I'll play Zelda, Breath of the Wild. And, oh my gosh. So, I mean, I could just repeat what everybody else is saying about how great that game is. But I kind of just wanted to do a quick... The rest of the topics, actually, are my impressions of the Switch. And I just made a little list of things that they don't tell you about the Switch. And it's because there's a lot of reviews and previews that are going up. And a lot of people talk about the Switch. But I feel like it's like, when I got my hands on it, I was like, why didn't anybody mention this? Or how come nobody's talking about this more than they should? And so, again, some of these, they're not like tips and tricks and stuff. Again, you can find a lot of this stuff on the internet. But the stuff I'm talking about is my personal opinion on, like, what I think should be mentioned, but nobody does. Nobody talks about, the first topic of my Switch impressions, is the system doesn't turn off. If you don't hold down the power button at the top of the system for like 5 seconds, it'll always be in sleep mode. And I didn't know that. Even me, I would just hold down. So basically, when you're playing, they have the little power button, the home button on the right side, the right Joy-Con. You hold that down to enter a quick mode. And then there's a little power symbol that says sleep. and you press it, the system turns off. And again, there's no noise or anything to indicate that it's in some sort of sleep mode or something like that. It's just kind of off. And then when you turn it on, you'll pick up right where you left off. And again, when me and my son are playing a co-op, I'll turn it off that way as well. Or if you tap the power button on the top, it just goes black and it goes into sleep mode. But I never actually stopped to think, like, is there a way to power this off? And what I mean by that is that it's so seamless, and you get used to just turning the system on and picking up where you left off. You never actually stop to think if you're actually turning it off. And so I held down the power button, and instead of the usual rigmarole of sleep or, airplane mode, it actually brought up this power and options menu. And when I clicked it, they have a restart setting option and a shut off option. And when I shut off, it completely shuts off. Again, you don't hear anything. It looks the same, but when you turn it on, it takes longer to boot up. And again, when I say longer, it's totally like not even noticeable. So when you come out from sleep mode, it's 2 seconds and you're on. You turn it on from total power down state, it's 5 seconds, 6 seconds. And again, like, effectively, I didn't realize that I've never turned it off since I've had it. But it's also because it's a very effective sleep mode. I've put it in sleep mode, undocked, and continued playing the next day, and I never saw how much I had, but that's also because I don't leave it undocked too long. I'm consistently putting it back on the TV when I know I'm not going to use it for a long time, and I've never run into a battery issue. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting how everybody just kind of talks about having the system, but nobody ever talks about how it's always on, basically, in sleep mode, unless people are explicitly holding down the power button. But it's just easier when you're not next to your system to turn it on and off with the controllers. The next topic is, the Joy-Con. Obviously, they're not built into the system. There's something that you slide in. But I thought it was interesting because if anybody who's owned a handheld knows that when you're playing, that sometimes you might pick one hand off the system, and you're basically holding it by one side of the system. When you do that with the Switch, you're actually holding it by the Joy-Con predominantly. Your palm is holding that mostly. And if I'm not going to warn you not to do it, but it's something that I noticed. Some people were talking about how the Joy-Cons feel wobbly on forums and Reddit and stuff. And I was noticing mine, they felt kind of wobbly, but not like weird, like going to break off wobbly. It was just something I noticed that it might be because of the way people are used to playing and holding handhelds. When they do one-handed stuff, when you hold it with one hand, you're putting a lot of weight on one Joy-Con and one slider, the things that connect the system. And so I think that's something that, again, people should talk about, that if you're going to hold this thing, try to hold it by the whole system, by the screen itself, or try to always hold it with two hands if you're playing in handheld mode. And if not, just put it down. And it's only just for the integrity of the Joy-Cons being attached to the system. That's just a little tip, something I noticed. Also, the buttons. Topic number C, I have it labeled. But anyway, the next topic, the clicky buttons. People talk about the clicky buttons, but I was like, well, how clicky are they? And these are exactly like the new 3DS, or specifically the DSi buttons. They are fairly small and they're very clicky. And that's something I just wanted to address because I feel like, again, nobody talks about that. People say they don't feel mushy, they feel kind of clicky. But it's like, what the fuck clicky? I need a point of reference. And I think the DSi is the perfect point of reference. If you don't know what that is, they're very shallow buttons and they just click. Instead of like a button, it's really hard to explain. If you've never played a game in a while, or DSi, I really can't explain it to you. Just know there's a certain amount of give that buttons have. It's usually like a millimeter or maybe half a centimeter, depending on how mushy they are. But these are almost flush to the system entirely, like half a millimeter, and they're barely sticking up. But when you press them, instead of having a cushiony press, it just has a, I don't know if you heard that I made, but yeah, it's a click. And I also wanted to mention docking, that it's super easy. And I know people talk about it. I feel like some people have complained about it, and some people have talked about how it's easy. But I don't think, when you're watching videos, it's hard to grasp how easy it is or how difficult it is. And literally, it might look like they're trying to like aim it into the center, or it takes practice to just put it into the center of the stand. But there's like no training at all. You literally just bring the system to it. You line up the screen. It doesn't have to be lined up perfect because once you get it in, you kind of slide it back and forth until it catches, and then it just is in there. But you have to do a nice firm press down if you want the connectors to connect. That's something I didn't know at first. I set it up and I thought that something was wrong with my stand or my HDMI wasn't connected, and then I was like, well, let me press it down, and when I did it, there was a kind of a hard thud and it kind of jumbled some stuff, but anyway, it worked. But yeah, you do have to push it in. There's no clicking or nothing. It's really strange, almost like a spongy acceptance that yes, your system is docked. And then the next topic is the Joy-Con. Sorry guys. The Joy-Con, when I first got the system, they were a little hard to get on and off the system, and I think it's just because both the sliders on the system as well as the Joy-Con have never been used, and so it's a little firm, a little tough. But the more I've used it now, I mean, they slide on and off like butter from the system anyway. So what I'm going to get into is another topic down the line. But yeah, if you get your system and it's a little stuck and you're like, oh no, like fucking Joy-Con. No, there's no problem. Just keep using it and keep practicing. Like if you need practice. They're pretty easy again. The more you slide them on and off, the more easier they'll come on and off. Next topic is the Joy-Con grip, and that's the little controller handlebars that they give you that you can slide your Joy-Con in to make it a fully featured controller. Even though they are fully featured separate, it's just now with the handles, there's more like heft to it and more like size to it. That works really well. I never intended to get a Pro controller, but it was something I always thought like, I should eventually for Zelda. But I've been able to play, I don't know how many hours of Zelda, too damn many. And I've never once been like, oh, like, this sucks or it's too tiny. In my head, I want to get a Pro controller by the time Splatoon comes out. Also, PSA, Splatoon, oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called, Test Fire demo. Anyway, from the 24th to the 26th of March, they're going to have a free demo of Splatoon that you can play at certain hour intervals. So just keep that in the back of your mind. It's a really fun game if you've never tried it. But yeah, I mean, I've totally been happy with the remote, the Joy-Con grips, and I don't think I'll need a Pro controller unless I really want to. It's also because of the reality is I don't have anyone to play multiplayer with, except for my son. But the Joy-Cons are actually perfect, and I might invest in a Pro controller or even just more Joy-Cons and another Joy-Con grip if me and him, or as he gets older and his hands get a little bigger, you know. But by then he might be like, I want my own Switch, you know. Who knows? These kids. Okay, so this is kind of going back to the Joy-Con sliding on and off the system. Those Joy-Con straps that come with the system to make the shoulder buttons bigger and just give the little Joy-Con a little more width so it's comfortable in the hands, those haven't become any easier to take on and off. I feel like every time I put them on, that I kind of have to give a nice tug to take them off. And there's always a click. And it's like a weird grindy click of like, oh, did I break something? As far as I know, I'm not breaking anything. They slide on and off. They lock into place. And I don't even lock the little bottom lock. There's a little gray plastic bottom lock that you can activate so that it stays on, I guess. But they're pretty snug, even with the single lock of the Joy-Con. But yeah, I mean, those things they're hard, and they worry me. But again, as long as they keep working, I don't see what's wrong. Okay, and then I would just kind of write that I want to see what updates bring to the hardware, to the software. I think right now, as simple as it is, I really like it. But I understand when people are like, it's too simple. I want more features. I want to keep track of more data. I can see that. But, I mean, I've used it like in the commercials, where, again, this is kind of unrelated to UI, but I think I was just talking about little experiences where I've used it where I'm cooking food and playing at the same time. And I've even, when my wife wants to watch one of her shows, I've put it on the table so that I can eat and play on my own little TV Switch system on my kitchen table while she's watching her show in the living room. It's kind of a connected room situation. But, yeah, I like that because sometimes when I play in my room, I get a little worried sometimes when I play for long sessions, like, my family they're like, where the fuck's dad? He's just in his room all day. Again, this doesn't fix the situation of me not interacting as much with my family when I'm playing games, but at least I don't have to be in my room like a hermit when I play games. I can come out here with them, either in handheld mode or putting it on the table, and me and my son playing on the table or something like that. I also want to give a shout out to the speakers, which is a silly phrase. Shout out to the speakers. But yeah, they're actually pretty loud. I mean, they're not gonna fill up an amphitheater or nothing like that, but they're loud enough to where when I played away from the TV, whether on handheld mode or on the tabletop mode, they were really good. And the screen is also pretty good too. Somebody mentioned on I forget who it was, but they mentioned that imagine the brightest setting on your phone, and that's how bright the screen is. I don't know if I can attest to that, but what I can attest to is just like your phone, it does fairly well in sunlight. Again, not direct sunlight. I just mean outdoors, like how you can be walking and texting while you're on the sidewalk. That's kind of what this is like. Because I'll go pick my wife up sometimes, and I'm parked outside her work. And I used to bring my DS, but if it was too bright or it wasn't overcast enough, I really couldn't see. The DS has a really bright glare on the screen. But this one, brightness, I don't know what it was. I have it to automatic brightness. But I could see everything, even in dark caves in Zelda. Really nice screen. Alright. Oh, man. I feel like I should take a break. Not that you would notice or care. But I don't want to put a transition in because it's my own day of recording. You know what? Why not? I'm going to put a transition in here while I take a break from my voice. And I will come back and talk about, it's mostly Zelda. It's probably only going to be like a 5-10 minute segment. But while I rest my voice, I will catch you guys on the other side. And welcome back from that break. How long it was, you'll never know. But I'm going to tell you it was like 3 to 5 minutes. Probably more, maybe 7. I don't know. It doesn't matter, because now we're talking about Zelda. Again, this is another one of the things. I know that everywhere else on the internet, there's like, stuff and a half from everybody who's anybody. And even people who are nobodies, like me. And, so I'm not going to run through about all these features and stuff like that. Again, I'm just going to kind of talk about like my impressions of the game and just maybe some small stuff that I don't think people talk about. It's not going to be as in-depth because I feel like this is something you have to experience firsthand to decide whether you like it or not. I'm not going to like shove it down your throat that this game is amazing or isn't that great. I think it's something you have to decide for yourself. And I'll start off with the first topic is this game is too damn big. Like, to an overwhelming degree at first. And I don't know if it's just I've never played an open world game like this before, or kind of like how I alluded to in my last podcast, it's just that different of an open world game. But I don't think so. I think just in general, this open world game, I've never played The Witcher, I've never played Skyrim, I've never played Horizon, obviously. And so it's one of those things where I don't know where the bar is set for open world games, but I was like really overwhelmed at first because the game starts, you get your powers, like the bomb, stasis, magnesis, and stuff. And then after that, after the Great Plateau, then it tells you, go meet this person, and that's it. Then that's your main story mission. Well, the first main story mission is to beat Ganon, which I think is so neat that it just throws you like, this is your end goal. But before your end goal, you have to like get ready. So meet this person first. And again, you can meet this person. Like that's where you're supposed to go, right? But even though they told me that, there was nobody really telling me like, don't forget to go there. Or even when I talked to the locals, none of them were like, hey, you're the hero or whatever. They're just kind of like, who the hell are you? Like, do you want to buy something or not? Or, the world doesn't care about you in a weird way, to where like a lot of other games, everyone seems to know who you are, or the world seems to cater to you and guide you in certain directions. Like, I just felt really lost, if that makes sense. And there really was no reason to be lost. The first mission tells me where to go, and I wanted to follow that, but every time I would, I felt like I was obliged to do something else, like a side quest or beat up some monsters for weapons. I like there's a weird part of me, and there's a weird part of me that doesn't want to just play the story because I'm afraid I'm just gonna blaze through it, and then I feel like the story is one of the main motivations for me exploring the world. And once I beat the story, I'm not gonna be motivated to go through and like discover secrets because I'm like, oh, I already beat it. Like Ganon's defeated, so I don't see why I need to keep existing in this world. Which again, that's not how games work. Like they always your save file always drops you before you fought the end boss, and so you still would be able to explore. But to me, I know I beat the game already, so I don't see why I would have to. So there's that risk that I'm just gonna blaze through the story in like 20 to 50 hours, and then be disappointed that I didn't explore the world, because then I won't feel motivated to. And then the other part of me is I'm gonna explore the world and take my time, but as I go through the story, I'm gonna feel OP or overpowered. And like when I get to bosses, I'm gonna have like, again, I don't have numbers, but let's say I have 30 hearts and my stamina lasts for an hour, like, and I've happened to run into some powerful weapons at that point, and I've expanded how many weapons I can carry. Like the fight would be too easy because I now have every tool I need. I feel like part of the fun or what makes it challenging is that when you get to a boss or an encounter like an enemy camp, you're not sure if you have the right stuff you need, or if your weapons are going to break too easy, or if they can one-hit kill you, depending on the different colors of enemies and stuff. And so in that sense, when I first jumped off the Great Plateau, I was like, I know where to go, but I don't know if I should go there yet, because the way the story's set up, it's kind of like, I really have not done a lot. I was talking to a coworker who also happened to get the game, and she got it for Wii U, and she was telling me that, so just know, again, I'm trying not to give out spoilers, but I think these are like really basic. These are not like super spoilery to where it's going to ruin anything, but basically, in order to beat Ganon, you need to stop or get the help of certain things. And basically, I just found out the certain things I need to do to beat Ganon. But this person was telling me that like they just did the first of many of those things, and I was kind of like, what? Like, how long you been playing? And she had been playing for less time, and I had been playing for more time, but I hadn't even gotten to that point. And I think it speaks to how you can just, depending on how you play, be at very different points. And kind of like how we mentioned earlier in the last episode about relative spoilers. I mean, she just kind of said, oh yeah, I'm looking at these things or for these things already. And if I hadn't just heard about them, I might have been like, what the hell are those? And then I don't think I would care, because like I said, they're pretty fundamental. It's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. If there's a boss at the top of a building, in order to defeat it, you have to destroy the bottom of the building so that it can crumble. Does that make sense? Like it's kind of the trope that Zelda follows in general. Like when you rescue the 7 sages in Ocarina and stuff like that. Like there's just, I'm not gonna get too into it, but it's pretty much a Zelda story. But yeah, I mean, I know this is actually totally tangential from what I really want the original topic to be, which is just talking about how big the world is and how I'm afraid I don't know how and when to progress through the story and when to mess around. And that gives me anxiety, because I guess I'm not used to that open of a world. Number 2, the weapon breaking mechanic to me is awesome. Again, the only other game I have played that has like weapon degradation is Monster Hunter, but that's on a totally different level. It's not even the same, because it's just not. I mean, that Monster Hunter is a very different kind of game. But I like this, and I always keep describing it to people, like in The Matrix Part 1. There's a Morpheus rescue scene where Trinity and Neo enter this building, and they just start shooting up all these security guards and stuff. And they come stacked to the nines with guns all over in every pocket conceivable, and they are just shooting everybody, and whenever they run out of ammo, they throw the gun off of themselves and grab a new one from some holster, or they'll even throw the gun at somebody or pop them in the face with the butt of an assault rifle, and they keep going. Like, there's a kinetic flow to the way the action moves in that movie, especially in that scene. And to me, I feel like it's, yeah, I mean, Link's not shooting guns, but there is a similar energy to the battles. Um, Sorry if you can hear any noise. That's my son mumbling in the back. He's just playing with toys. But there's a similar kinetic flow to the action where you're hitting people with your spear and it says how badly damaged. So then you'll pick it up, like you'll shoot it like a javelin into the enemy's face. He'll fall to the floor. You hot swap to your club that you picked up from a prior battle, and you're beating the shit out of this other goblin's face until he falls to the ground. And because you notice that his weapon has a little green arrow, you know it's stronger. So you're like, why not? You throw the club you have at his face, pick up his weapon, and if there's any more at that point, you're ready for it with a stronger weapon. But if there's not, you just beat the shit out of people by losing 2 of your weapons, and it just feels good. Like, I don't even know how to explain. And that's not counting to stronger bosses where you're gonna need to do your flurry attack by dodging at the right moment. The combat just feels very satisfying, and a lot of it to me is tied to the weapon breaking mechanic and how they degrade over time. And yeah, some weapons are pretty badass. I mean, I've got like a fire sword and an electric sword, and I kind of don't want to use them. I haven't used them, but at the same time, I mean, I can totally see where if I'm getting into the stronger later levels of the game, I'm going to use those things without even thinking twice, because I'm like, I need to beat the shit out of you, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try. And it's exciting to me. Motion controls are in this game for aiming, and that stuff works. If you play Splatoon, you know it works great. But 2 out of the 13 shrines that I've visited so far, 2 of them had motion controls, where you're basically rotating the level or rotating sections of the level. And I was playing handheld mode, and you have to rotate the whole damn, you have to rotate the Joy-Cons. And to the point where I basically am rotating the system, and it's upside down, facing away from me, and I can't see the screen. Like, obviously, I didn't go ahead and rotate it all the way far, but when I realized that's what I was going to have to do, I was kind of like, how the hell, like, why don't they account for this in handheld mode and just give you, like, a joystick option so that you can just use the analog stick to move stuff? Like, I don't understand. What I ended up doing was docking it and playing with the Joy-Con grip, or at another time, I had to just, I happened to have the Joy-Con grip with me, and so I just tabletop moded it and then moved the controllers. But I was kind of like, it was really frustrating. Again, it wasn't like, oh, this game sucks all of a sudden. It was just, what the fuck? Like, why did they leave this in here like this? And it's like, you know what? Let me solve this. Or I could have and should have probably just put a stamp and come back to those shrines. But I wanted those damn orbs, spirit orbs. But other than that, I mean, the game is what it is. It's a large open world. It's littered with side activities to do. And I mentioned side activities, not side quests, because a lot of the stuff you're going to do, like I mentioned, is very organic the way it pops out. You're going to end up doing it on your own. I feel like the Koroks and the Korok seeds, they really help promote that kind of stuff. I was telling my wife that I feel like they bring environmental puzzles. Environmental puzzles have a whole new meaning for me after playing this game, because you just kind of have to play. It makes you want to be curious, because you're like, I'm going to see if that's what I think it is. And then you do it and you're like, that's what I thought it was. Or you're going to be like, shit, this was a waste of time. But again, it's also weird because everybody mentions it in their previews and reviews. But yeah, there is something tangible and interesting to the fact that, yeah, you can get to a tower or a tree, and when you're at the top, there's something satisfying. Even though there's nothing up there, you can see all this orange of shrines, or maybe some towers you haven't activated, or maybe an island off the ocean that you're like, is that even possible to get there? It's so strange. It's, like I said, you have to play it if you're going to like it or not, to decide whether you're going to like it or not. But, again, there's more I could talk about probably, but I'm not, because I'm not that far, frankly, and I don't want to bring up any more spoilery stuff. I'm pretty sure some people are pissed at me already. But, I mean, even me searching on the internet, I don't care about spoilers, but I've seen stuff that I wish I didn't see or wish I hadn't seen. And so I don't want to ruin it for you guys. I don't know how long I can talk about this. Oh yeah, and I also want to give it an update about this video series I wanted to do. I wanted to do a series where me and my son unbox the Switch and then kind of chronicle us playing games together. Man, he's really going at it with those cars in the back. And And that didn't turn out the way I wanted to, because again, I ordered a tripod, this, that, and the other. I just don't have a good enough setup to do it, and my son isn't. He's not coordinated enough for it to be interesting to watch. You're basically going to see me and him arguing with each other of why something's hard and how he wants to give up, or how he's not listening to me to help solve a puzzle, and I go, just do as I say. And so it's going to either look like me being a shitty parent or him being a spoiled brat, and it's one of those things. Maybe they both equal me being a shitty parent, but I was just like, you know what, this isn't as entertaining as I thought it was going to be. I know he's smart, I know he can play games, it's just the flow and the way I wanted the dynamic to work didn't end up the way I thought it was. But maybe I'll set up, I don't know, because I know I could just do like a let's play or something if I get a capture card, but I personally don't understand the appeal of let's plays and things like that. I feel like if you want to play, just play it yourself. Like, I'll YouTube games that I want to see. How does this game play? Or if I want a tip or a trick and somebody's doing a mini walkthrough. Yeah, but I'm literally only watching for the 30 seconds to 5 minutes that I need to watch. And then I'm donezo. I'm done with that fucking video. Like, so I don't understand people recording whole playthroughs or like hour-long things, 30-minute things of playing, when it's like, you could play that. Like, I don't know. Again, I just don't understand. I don't understand a lot of things, which is why I come here and vent to people on the internet and just ask, why do you like Let's Plays? Like, legitimately, I'm curious. Why do you like Let's Plays? I want to know what the appeal is. I want to know why. And again, if it's like, oh, just like you said, to get strategy tips or to see how other people play, it's like, how can you not get that from 30 seconds to 5 minutes? Again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, do what you do. We all spend our time differently, you know? But I just can't spend my time that way. And so I really don't want to make content like that because I can't connect to it. I can't relate to it. It's kind of like me selling you hair growth formula, and I don't believe that it works. I don't believe in the Let's Play, so I cannot do a Let's Play. Even though everybody I've talked to is like, yeah, that's what you got to do to get popular. Which, again, I don't know how popular I want to be or how big I want to become. I mean, who knows? I really don't have an end game. This is really an outlet for me, like a hobby. But I wouldn't mind having at least 20 people to like interact with on a weekly basis. But we'll see how that goes. But all right, everybody. I will end this episode here. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you are enjoying Zelda in your Switch. And if not, please keep looking at those Targets, Toys R Us, Targets twice. Yeah, they're that good. Targets, Toys R Us, Best Buys, Walmarts, GameStops, and wherever else you get your electronics. Don't go to FYE or anything like that. Come on, guys. Come on. There's other more dedicated places to get that stuff. But do what you want. I mean, if you got a small shop like that, do what you want. But alrighty, until next week, I hope you guys have a good week. Stay safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you guys have any comments or questions, you can reach me at Unsaluted on Twitter. And don't forget, you can find these episodes on iTunes, Google Music, SoundCloud, or YouTube. And again, just thank you for listening. I will catch you guys and gals next week. Bye-bye.